Well, good afternoon again, you crazy metalheads and rockers. I'm Al Din. I'm with Underground Noise Webzine. As you all know, if you're not keeping your horns up for rock or metal, you're doing it wrong. But anyway, only you can do something about this world to make it more positive. What I would suggest, listen to music, learn music, and listen to DiGelsomina. I don't think I said it right.
You're really close.
I,
DiGelsomina.
okay. I got the pleasure of interviewing Andy, the guitarist from that band today. How you doing,
Hi,
Andy?
how's it going?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty good.
That's better than no good, as I tell people every time.
I would say so. Or maybe was it Bon Scott who said better no good than absolutely no good at all? Wait, I got that completely wrong. Forgive me. I was thinking of something totally different. I have no idea. Sorry. More caffeine is needed.
That's quite all right, man. Welcome to my show. I'm glad you're here.
I'm very flattered and honored to be here. Oh, thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. The first question I would like to ask you is, how did you come up with that band name and what does it translate to?
DiGelsomina. I believe it's Italian for of a flower. Okay, so that's kind of a not really a very metally thing to for a name, but that's my name. And because I had a previous project called Lyrica, which is a metal opera I did with Graham Bonnet of Rainbow and Mark Bowles and all them. I wanted to make this album because I mean I wrote everything. I played lead guitar, I arranged all the instruments, I did all of that. I thought, well, this is my band now. This is not Lyrica, which was the heavy metal opera. This is really mostly my own thing, even though it's meant to be a band, with Robert Lowe and all that. I thought it's probably best served by being called under my auspices.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept of music. There's parts where I hear your voice sounding a little bit like Peter Steele from Typo Negative.
Oh, you mean on the album?
Yes.
That's Robert Lowe. Robert Lowe of
Oh, okay.
he was of Candlemass and Solitude Eternus, very very amazing doom metal bands that are practically immortal, very popular, and he's a great singer, really great.
Yeah, he
I
reminds me.
remember Typo Negative.
Yeah,
I
he
remember.
reminds me of Peter in some spots because I'm like, wow, he can get deep.
Yeah, he can, and he can do the wailing and the gritty, almost Ronnie James Dio type of thing, but he can also bring it down. He's got a good sense of dynamics.
That's killer, man. What bands influence you?
Um, Gee, the Black Sabbath stuff from the Ozzy Osbourne, Ronnie James Dio, Ian Gillan years, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow with Ronnie Dio, Graham Bonnet. Um, Also, the debut St. Vitus album, which most people don't know about, but they're a doom metal band, and their first album was really good. It was very, very heavy and kind of a sludgy, thick sound, which is what I tried to capture. Me and my producer and rhythm guitarist tried to capture that type of thick, doomy, sound throughout this album.
Speaking of sludge, I listen to the band called Neurosis from time to time.
Oh yeah, very cool band, very out there. They're very progressive. I like them.
Yep, I've got two of their albums. One's a digipack, I believe.
Yeah, those are nice. Those are nice. I might want to put this one out on that, but for now it's going to be the jewel case and hopefully vinyl.
Yeah, I like the jewel case myself personally.
Yeah. Well, I grew up with them. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah,
used to seeing digipacks are kind of relatively. I know I sound really old, forgive me, but they're kind of relatively new for me. I'm not used to them yet, but I like them. I like the way they look.
yeah. The first time I ever saw a digipack was with Fear Factory in the album called Obsolete.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep, that was good. That guitarist was pretty creative there. I can't remember, it's Dino or I can't remember. He was good. He was good.
You mean
That's what you're bringing me back
Cole?
to, like the '90s metal. I'm sorry to interrupt. The '90s metal type of realm, because that's what that reminds me of back in the '90s when those kind of that slightly industrially edged metal was coming out.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal because I remember talking about their first album, Soul of a New Machine, being very close to death metal.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've heard some of that before. There was one that the really popular one. I can't remember. The Soul of I can fear Dehumanizer. I can't remember, but the one that was really popular. I listened to that quite a bit. I had a roommate that was big into them, and I'd never even heard of them back in the '90s. And when I did, I was like, well, gee, I guess metal is still around. Grunge isn't killing it. You know what I mean? It made me very happy.
Yeah, some grunge music is decent, like Alice in Chains,
I
Sound.
like a little Alice. Yep. I like a little Alice. I like a little. I like I like Smells Like Teen Spirit because But the main reason is, and I have to admit, to me, it sounds a little bit like the old Black Sabbath with Ozzy, the heavy drums and the sludgy guitar sound and all that. And I like that. And there's a couple Pearl Jam songs. Like I'm not sure if Pearl Jam was really grunge or maybe more just rock and roll.
Well, as my friend Brandon Gould would put it, they sing like yarling, is what they call it.
Yarling.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready. Give me
It's
an
like,
example of Yarling, please, Al.
okay, yarling would be like, the Creed singer and also the singer from Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder, like,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's kind of like a lower key wail type of thing. Yeah, I know what you mean.
it's
Almost a little bit of growl
strange.
going there. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. For me, it's a little strange. It kind of sounds like the guy's got marbles stuck in his throat and he's trying to
It
do
does.
a Weird version that smells like Nirvana.
Yes, it does. I was never really a big fan of that style, to be honest with you. But I do like there's a couple things I like about them. It's fine.
Yeah,
They're good.
yeah, same here. I was gonna
I know
ask you,
I'm sorry, what they tried to call alternative rock back in the day, it always just sounded to me like rock. Why can't you just call it rock? Is it that hard? Do you have to be that different to have some kind of subgenre in front of it? Kind of silly, I think.
yeah, it definitely can be. But I think you were thinking about Dino Cazares, and the name of the album was, yeah, it was Demanufacture.
Yeah, I remember that one. Soul of a New Machine. I had
Yep.
that one. That was a good one too. Yeah, I had a few by them. They were good. Very good band.
Yeah,
It's nice to see someone who's still listening to that stuff because it's good and it'll make me break it back out again.
yeah, it brings back the '90s feel for sure.
Yeah, I remember. We were kind of struggling as metalheads back then because it got so crushed with the grunge thing. It was hard to see out from under there for a while. A lot of the favorite stuff that I grew up with, like Dio, he was playing in smaller clubs in Europe, and it was hard for a lot of those guys to make a living.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like Pantera and Fear Factory, they played large stadiums. They were doing really good. While the guys I loved when I was growing up, 70s and 80s, they were having trouble. It's
Yep.
not quite like that now because people are getting it's. There's been a bit of a renaissance, I think, in this century for metal because people are listening again. People are appreciating it. They're appreciating the older stuff and all that, and I think it's great.
Absolutely, man. Even some of this new shit that's coming out, it's like, whoa, how'd they come up with that?
Yeah, yeah, there's some pretty heavy stuff coming up. I think a lot of it sounds like they're taking Pantera to another level, but I've noticed that some bands are adding the cleaner vocals. There's more of that. I think that's the only thing really new about a lot of the new metal coming out now. I don't want to say new metal like NU metal like Limp Bizkit, but there's a lot of bands that are combining the heavy aggressive, almost death metal snarls with a more clean approach too in the vocals, and it's interesting.
It's kind of
I
funny.
always listen to my old stuff.
Yeah, same
My
here.
old
I
stuff is
listen to
number one.
everything. Anything
Yeah.
from ELO to
Yeah.
Ray Charles to whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I love that stuff. Love that stuff. Yeah. Little Richard, love Little Richard was almost like one of the original heavy metal singers. If you listen to some of his stuff, he was belting it. He was belting it. Just an amazing, amazing rock guy.
Stevie Wonder's still with us, you know.
Incredible singer. What a composer. What a
Yeah.
fantastic composer.
Yeah, it's just really impressive. It's like, how does this guy bang on those keys like he does and come up with the most extravagant sounds?
He's amazing. I remember songs in the Key of Life, the stuff from the 60s too. It boggles my mind. He's a brilliant, brilliant man. I can
That's
listen to him anytime. He's got the great voice, everything. He's wonderful.
that's exactly how I feel about Jeff Lynne.
Jeff Lynne.
He's from Electric Light Orchestra.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love them. I love them. Yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
I still listen to all their songs on the radio when I'm driving around. I crank it up. It's so
Yeah,
much
they're one
fun.
of my favorite pop rock bands.
Oh
Most
yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
they
they
had
got the top of the
A little
list.
Beatles influence. Do you remember that song? I heard it on this movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. I hadn't heard it in years. Mr. Blue Sky.
Yes.
You know that it's got the Beatlesque type of dun 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 to that beat. I
Yeah.
always thought that was a cool song.
A lot of down picking in that one.
Yeah, yeah, really good stuff. And the vocal sound, there's something. The whole song just had like a Beatle-esque type vibe to it that I love. You know what I mean? They had a lot of great stuff. They were good, and they're a little bit forgotten today. I mean, if you mention them walking down the street, most people just look like you're out of your mind. You know what I mean? But we know
Yeah,
it was great.
that's what's up, brother.
The good stuff.
You got a guitar nearby?
I have guitars. I have my if I can get
This is
this in
the
there.
section everybody we call Show Me Your Axe.
Oh, you want to see me? Yeah, I didn't know there was. Ooh, I wish I'd been warned. Well, I do have guitars. I hope you can get to see this. This is kind of dusty and getting up there. This is my V. This is a BC Rich, and it was originally This is one of the Pat O'Brien's signature models, the guy from Cannibal Corpse. So this is like a death thrash extreme metal guitar that I use. This one I don't use for leads that often. I don't. I like the tone, and it's heavy. It's got the EMG pickup. You know what I mean, which is great if you want to get really heavy on the rhythms. Look no further. But when it comes to playing leads, it can be a little overboard, and I seem to lose a little bit of individuality when I play leads on it. So I don't use this for leads that much. There is some of it on the new album. Then there is my baby, the Black Beauty, the Richie Blackmore Stratocaster. Well, it's not Richie Blackmore, one of the name models, but it is that style. The Jimi Hendrix. This is my baby. The tone I'm crazy about. This was a gift from my wife, Cheryl. And boy, I just adore this guitar. I play it to death. The leads on it make me sound. This is going to sound strange. It makes me sound like me. You know what I mean? I don't know whether it's just the way I play it or whatever, but this really captures, my style. So you saw my baby. That's it.
That's
Now
awesome.
she's worldwide now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So two different guitars. One for I use these for metal lead guitars, but I don't think a rhythm guitar in metal with a Fender Stratocaster is quite as, it doesn't seem to fit in as well on rhythm. You know what I mean? I mean the days of Richie Blackmore, with Rainbow and all that, and using that, it seems like that's just not it doesn't sound heavy enough. So the BC Rich is kind of like my complementary guitar. It's used for rhythm guitars.
That's
Because it's
awesome.
heavy. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's heavy. You got the sustain. Really good.
I heard the band Obituary, they used to use Fender guitars.
I read that. It's really funny. I just read that for the first time. I think it was just maybe 2, 3 months ago, and it made me listen to the first album, Slowly We Rot, again, and I was really impressed because whatever sound they got, if using the Strats on rhythm, I wouldn't mind finding out what their tones were on that. I heard they're very approachable, so maybe I'll talk to them sometime about it. But yeah, there was a pretty cool tone, and I like them.
That is cool. Yeah, Obituary is sick, man. Most definitely.
Sick. Yeah, I had all this stuff. I had their first 4 albums: Cause of Death, The Incomplete, World of Mice. Yeah, I played them all the time. Back in the day when I was younger, back in the early '90s. So Deicide, Obituary, Morbid Angel, Death, all that stuff was just huge for me. Really, really a big fan. And
That's
I got into
awesome.
the Norwegian black metal stuff. Don't know if you remember the Norwegian Scandinavian black metal thing back in the early '90s, late '80s. Bathory, Emperor, Mayhem. They sound familiar?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I remember them and Satyricon, Demi War.
Satyricon, yeah. Nemesis Divina. That's one of my favorite albums. Great album.
That's an
Yeah, I
excellent.
still listen to it. I like it.
The first
It's
thing that
fun.
I heard was a little bit of music. Then you hear, "This is Armageddon." I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh,
Dawn of a New Age. That's one of my favorite songs. Yeah, it's good. When I'm lifting, working out, or just even doing cardio or whatever, I'll play that, and it kicks me into gear every time. I can't help it. It's crazy. It's like if you're kind of dragging out, even the caffeine isn't working as well. You play something like that, you're going to get on your game real quick. Good stuff. It's
absolutely.
perfect for workouts. Perfect. See,
My next
we've got a broad expanse here of metal.
Absolutely. My next
Yeah.
question for you, Andy, would be I was listening to your album a few days ago, the new one that's coming out. I'm
Mhm.
sure you're excited about that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What I would like to
It
ask
should
you
be a
is
few weeks.
what song or songs did you find to be your personal favorite off the album? For me personally, it was Shadows and Mirrors and also Entombed by Choice.
Oh yeah, I did Tune by Choice. It's funny. I'll get to my favorite here in a second if I can remember. In Tune by Choice was the first song I'd gotten out of the Lyrica, the metal opera thing I've been doing, and I found out about Robert Lowe. I'd loved his music since the '90s, early '90s, and I wanted to pursue him as a vocalist because I'd already worked with guys like Graham Bonnet from Rainbow and Mark Bowles from Yngwie Malmsteen and Al Atkins, the original singer for Judas Priest. I've worked with all these guys before, but I wanted to work with Robert. And when I got a hold of him, I had a song. This is a very doomy song. Give it a try, and very happy with the song. And it was when I got the vocals back, when he recorded them, that I thought, I want to do a whole album with Robert. This is so good. His voice was just amazingly good. So yeah, that's how this really started, the DiGelsomina thing. I thought I'm going to use Robert for a whole album, put him in different, a dynamic context, and he was able to hit it left and right. It came out terrific. Now, Shadows and Mirrors, yeah, thank you so much. It's funny how you mentioned the two songs in the album that are more psychological, more you could say down to earth. You could say that because the rest of the album is mostly just very fantastical. It's most Mayhem and all those songs are about this fantasy character, and plus Lovecraft is involved in there. But that's interesting. You would mention those two specifically. My favorite was probably Mayhem, which was just very inspired. I had been with my wife at the time, before we got married, been with my wife for maybe 6 months, something like that, 7 months, and I was riding high, the first love when it first hits and stuff like that. And I just got struck by a bolt of inspiration for that, and I made something that sounded very Eastern in a doomy way, and just very proud of that. And I think that Robert did amazingly on the vocals there. But yeah, I love the songs you mentioned too, of course.
That's really cool. Yeah. I was wondering if you guys have any previous albums other than this one.
This is the debut. This is the first album I put out since Lyrica Volume 1. So this has been since November 2010. I had Lyrica Volume 2, another album, but there's some difficulties there with putting out. It was due to be released back in 2013-14, but it got delayed. But I will be getting that out too. And that's got Graham on it. It's got Mark Bowles. It's got Al Atkins, Veronica Freeman. Really great cast of singers. Rob Diaz of the South American band Vastator. Just he's kind of like a King Diamond type, so he hits those really high, hard, harsh vocals. And he not just that, but he can also do like a low operatic thing too. So it was really great to work with such well-known and excellent vocalists. It was a great honor.
Do you have any pre-show rituals, like things you like to do before you do a show?
I'm so guitar oriented that I'm really boring because I have to do chromatic scales up and down the neck before I go out. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to play to the level of proficiency that I want to. So yeah, it's scales and they take maybe 10 minutes, something like that. It's very boring, but I have to do it. Otherwise, my fingers don't kick in right. You might know what I mean. So you play every note up the neck. It goes like this, and then you got to go up and go up and do it. It's a long, complicated process, but I wouldn't be able to play the way I do it if I didn't do it. But that's the only one I have. Besides, if somebody wants to slip me a couple of shots of Jack and Coke, why not?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. We're going to make our own drink with body armor and Jack Daniels
Yes,
called
I'm
Jack
there.
Armor.
I'm with you completely, Al. We should definitely do this. We're talking about a multi-million-dollar enterprise. I'm there.
All right.
Any multi-million-dollar enterprise, I'm there.
Yeah, and if anybody tries to steal our idea, I'm going to say thanks a lot.
It's over. It's over. Yeah. We'll have a strictly, something like that. It's like, oh, it's done. It's over. So we're metalheads. The vengeance is ours.
Absolutely, man. Thrashed apple Mountain Dew with vodka. How about that?
Oh, Mountain Dew with vodka. That's tough. Al, I don't know. Mountain Dew with vodka. I had that with Absolute once, Absolute vodka. And I got so spazzed out and so wired out on it at the same time getting drunk that I think I might have ended up in jail that night, Al. It was not a good night.
One of them moments, huh?
Yeah, that was not I don't think I'd do that combination again, Al. That's a criminal combination, you could say.
Yeah, we could scratch that.
That's not a good.
I'll try it one time, see if I like it.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you say, I'll try anything once, which I don't say. You could apply that to that. It's like, well, I tried it once, and it's definitely not a good experience at all. So I think
well, anybody that knows me, they know that I'm the biggest Mountain Dew junkhead because every webisode that I do, I drink a Mountain Dew. But today I decided to go with water, you guys, because it's a lot healthier for you.
Yeah, you're diversifying. Mountain Dew. Hey, if you're gonna go work out, I'll chug it right down. It's great stuff.
Yep. Or if you're gonna play a video game, go for it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Get right out of your mind. You're playing the video game.
Oh. You're all jittery, like, fight that fucker, get him.
You're all tensed up the whole time. At the end of it, it's like, oh, I better go to bed. I'm done. The alien's wiping out.
Your leader's gone, and you're looking down. You're like, crap! I need more dude.
Exactly. I'm with you.
That's hilarious.
I'm with you on the mountain, definitely.
Do you have any hobbies outside of music?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of boxing. Big fan of boxing. I've been that way since I was maybe 14 years old. I love the old greats, George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson. and Evander Holyfield, all those guys. You know what I mean? Watch those fights over and over again, because it reminds me when I was young, when I was, because I was really happy watching that stuff when I was a kid. So yeah, that and also lifting, a lot of lifting, mostly powerlifting, which means using a lot of weight for lower reps, stuff like that. So those are my main hobbies, and I read, and of course I listen to plenty of music.
That's really cool.
The best hobby I have, and it's not really a hobby, it's a way of life, is spending time with my wife. My wife is just amazing. My wife Cheryl, she's pretty great.
That's awesome, dude. I'm happy to hear that for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My next question for you is, what's the craziest thing that you've seen while performing?
Um, Boy, while performing, I think it's mostly seeing people that are so drunk and out of it, they don't really know what they're doing. It's like you're starting to worry that they might get hurt or hurt somebody else. It's like this person is almost like like a zombie. It's like I've seen people like that. I guess they're enjoying themselves, but I don't know if I'd want to get that crazy at a concert or something like that. I've seen people get really, really dementedly under the influence, as you might say. So that's about the craziest I've seen.
And if
Just
you're,
not what I've been drunk out of my mind myself many times, but I want to go to a show and maybe just have a few beers or whatever and enjoy the show, and that's about it.
absolutely.
I paid for the show. I don't want to miss it.
What do you like to do on your days off if you're not doing shows?
Um, there's a lot of there's a work side and then there's a fun side, and the work side is keeping my chops up on guitar, which is kind of where chops in themselves are not necessarily fun for me at least. And there's also trying to mess with songs that are in progress. There's hanging out with my wife, as mentioned, and also I watch movies. I watch a lot of scary and violent movies that my wife doesn't really care for. So I do a lot of that too. And there's always metal. Oh, there's always metal. There's not a day without metal.
Yeah, if you're not bleeding metal, you're not listening to the right kind of music.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I'm like you too. I suspect that you have other sides too. It's like sometimes you just want to hear something else. You know what I mean? And I do that
Yeah,
too. Some blues, some jazz, some fusion, some classical music. I'm like the biggest Beethoven and Richard Wagner fan ever as far as that kind of stuff goes. Operas and classical music, all that. I love. Oh, the '70s softer pop stuff, soft rock. I listen to that because I grew up with that. I got moods like you do probably.
yeah, I think everybody's got a guilty pleasure. Sometimes I could sit back, listen to Michael Jackson or TLC or maybe some NWA and be like, okay, cool.
Oh,
I can
NWA.
listen
Oh,
to this.
they were great. They were good. Yeah, that was my jam back in the day. They were really good. But yeah, I mean, when you talk about Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, all that, you're also talking about these incredible musicians in general. It's like John Coltrane, where they're so great as musicians that you can listen to practically anything they do and appreciate it on some level. Because with Michael, he had such a good voice, especially when he was younger. I could listen to "I'll Be There" and all that anytime because he had a wonderful voice, really beautiful.
Yeah,
Same with Stevie.
I mean, it takes me back to watching Clerks 2 and hearing that song ABC, easy as one, two, three.
Yeah, they
I'm
used to when I was
dancing
young.
along. I'm like, yo.
I know I like it. Get you roused. I remember they had this shows how old I am. They had a cartoon on TV way back in the early '70s when I was a little boy, and I never missed it. I thought that was so good. They always opened the cartoon with that song, so you got right into it as soon as it started. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And Jackson 5 were a great band. They were terrific, very very well known and great. I
Extremely
remember all that.
voices.
Yeah,
Some of the best voices you could ever hear in music.
who's that?
The Jackson 5, we were
Oh
just,
yeah, yeah, yeah. They had the harmonies, and they all had talent. You know what I mean? It wasn't. It was a little bit like the Beatles in that they all had something that they were really great at and that they contributed. It was awesome.
so do you just play guitar? Or are there any other instruments that you've tried playing before?
I could play a little cello, a little violin, enough to know how to write for them because I've written classical music too. I've written symphonies, so I had to really learn how to get into the strings. Writing for strings can be very difficult. So the best course of action I had to take when I was starting out was, I was learning orchestration and all that, and studying Beethoven and Wagner. And I purchased a violin, a viola, and a cello. I took lessons. It just got good enough to where I knew how to write for them without making it sound like it didn't work. I did that. I play synthesizer. I've definitely used synthesizers heavy, especially in my concert music. So yeah, just mostly that stuff. It's mostly guitar, Al. Let's get real. It's it has to be guitar.
Yeah, I
Ever
figured
since
I'd ask that because I've never asked it before. And
oh, sorry.
I just got a kalimba in the mail back on Saturday.
Wow, that's esoteric.
Yeah, it's one of those thumb pianos, and they gave you like
Oh,
they
a
gave you
thumb
the
piano.
yeah.
Because really, it's tiny. It's tiny, right?
It's actually about I'd say about like that tall.
Okay, this is gonna sound dumb, but are you playing it like this?
I actually have it facing me, kind of like it's a video game controller. But
Wow.
you can put it on your lap and play it that way because it's got a hole in the middle, so that way the acoustics come out.
Wow, that's really interesting. I've never even heard of that before.
I'll
That's
send
really
you a
cool.
picture of it.
Yeah, that'd be really great.
Yeah, shout
So I
out.
mean, you got this in the mail, and you're learning how to play it.
Yeah,
That's
I
really cool.
sitting back like, okay, it came with a tuning hammer. Like I said, two of the thumb picks that are made out of either silicone or rubber. And
Yeah,
a
yeah.
cleaning cloth, a carrying sack, a hard shell case, and labels
So
that
it
you
came with the
put on
works.
the keys.
Yeah, yeah. That is really cool. I wish I could do that. Start picking up other instruments. I might just do that, or maybe just get back to my stringed instruments and try to get better at them. You know what I mean? Because it can be a lot of fun exploring other stuff like that. You know that. It's interesting that you as a guitarist are like that too. That you want to explore other sounds too. And the fact that you're going so esoteric on it is extremely cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, so it's I'm stepping up the bat.
You know, I came up with a joke like a few days ago, and I don't know if you had seen it on Facebook or not, but what's the difference between a guitarist and a stripper?
I'm ready.
A guitarist only has one G string.
That's a good. I gotta tell my wife that one. That's a good one. It's a good
Yeah,
one.
she'll get a good kick out of that one for
Yeah,
sure.
she's got a great sense of humor. Yeah, I never heard that one before.
Yeah, I came up with that, like I said a few days ago, and I'm just like, man, I'm gonna post that on Facebook, see how many laughs I get out of it.
Oh, this is an original, an Al original.
That's right.
Oh,
I put the Al in original and also professional.
yeah. You're putting an Al spin on everything you can.
Yeah,
That's good. It's like a trademark, right?
yeah. What album is this? What town
Okay.
was it?
You're
Albuquerque.
disseminating the Al through everything.
Yeah, I mean, I could do the Al language for days, but I don't want to bore everybody with that shit. You know.
Oh, yeah, but it's not boring for you. So
Hey, I used to live near Albuquerque. How you like that
hey.
one? Albatross.
Oh, corrosion of conformity.
Yes.
That was a good. I remember that song. Yeah, that was a good one. I
Yeah,
think corrosion conformity. They teamed up with Phil Anselmo Pantera and they became Down. Do you remember them?
I do.
They were a doom metal band. They were good
I
too.
remember Super Joint Ritual.
Yeah, that was Phil. I like some of his solo stuff. He's good. I remember he was in Necrophagia for a little bit.
Yep.
He was in a black metal band I think called Viking Crown. That was pretty cool. And I'm into Phil. His latest stuff is Phil Anselmo, I think, in the Illegals, and they're
Yeah.
getting a bit more experimental. Yeah, some of it's very good. I've heard a lot of it.
Did you ever hear Phil when he was with Anal Cunt?
Oh yeah, with that guy Seth. Yeah, they
Yeah,
screaming.
Seth
I
Putnam.
remember that. That was good. I think that Seth actually did guest vocals on Great Southern Trendkill. Some of the more
Is that
screamy
why
stuff. I
that
mean,
first
Phil got it
song's so
really.
loud?
I'm sorry.
Is that why that first song's so loud? Is that Phil or is that Phil
Yeah,
and Seth screaming?
yeah, that's both of them.
It's
That's both. I don't know if
incredible.
it's that first scream. I don't know if it's that first scream. I think that might just be Phil, but he's in there. He's definitely in there. In fact, he's on that album more than once. I'm pretty sure. He died a very tragic death. I think that guy had a very hard life.
Yeah, I read about that and I was like, man, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, he was a very opinionated person, and he seemed to be one of those people that didn't have a big filter on. He really just there was no filter. He just let things out. And I guess he got beat up a lot, and a lot of people didn't appreciate some of the stuff he wrote. 'Cause he did write some pretty controversial lyrics and ideas. But I think that they were an interesting band. They were interesting. I can just say that.
Yeah,
They had
one of the first songs that I heard by AC was "I Lit Your Baby on Fire," and I'm just looking at like,
I'm trying to remember.
oh,
That's one of those 30-second deals? Yeah, really fast. Yeah, I think I remember that one.
kind of like
I
a
had
Napalm Death song.
yeah, Yeah, it's crazy. When you listen to grind like that, it's so short that like Napalm Death too. They're very similar. It's so short, that you're just kind of like, oh, it's over. It's little burst. It's a Mountain Dew burst of metal.
I was about to say, make that face again.
No, okay, we got to play some grindcore. But yeah, I do like it. There's other bands called like a Nazone, which is more recent, late '90s, something like that, that are really good. It's a good genre. Cattle Decapitation. There's some good bands in that genre, but they're not as out there lyrically, where they're throwing out all the offensive stuff like AC was.
Yeah, they were basically like grindcore and humor grind.
Oh yeah, I think he was trying to be as humorous as possible, but he kind of knocked people for. Maybe it's good because I mean he got people to think, because I remember Slayer saying that when they were asked about Tom Araya, when they were asked about why all these satanic things, he's a Catholic, and he said it pisses people off, it gets them to think, and I thought that was really interesting. He said that, because it does. It's like when you see something that over the top, you know what I mean, and hear it, it does, it at least provokes thought. And I mean, in this day and age, sometimes people don't like to think too much.
Yeah, that's very true. Because sometimes if you see a certain word that you don't know the meaning of, where do you go? Dictionary.com, of course.
Yeah. Yeah,
People have
well, these days you got so many resources. Yeah. You got so many resources that, so if something's troubling you or you're interested in something, you can, spend all day down a rabbit hole pursuing it, which is, I think, better than just kind of mindlessly gliding, surfing through everything and, not doing anything. It's kind of like those people, you probably remember this, back when they started with the big cable stations. And, you got people that really would never watch an actual program. They were just like on the remote. I think the internet that's even more profound, today. People just basically the what do you call it, low attention span. They just flip through everything, blah blah blah. So to have lyrics that are at least, have some kind of interest besides. Now I love lyrics that are, rock and roll, rock and roll, rock sorry, rock and roll hoochie coo and all that. I love Johnny Winter and Edgar and all that. But it is good to have that other side, which is a little bit more introspection. In my opinion, it makes it more interesting to me at times. I
Yeah,
like both sides.
I would rather use YouTube than Spotify. I'm not going to pay for something that I can listen to for free for hours on end.
Well, the difference is for me, it's like you know, I love to listen to YouTube, and I will do that, especially stuff that if I'm working out or I'm doing something, if I'm pursuing some other interest while I'm doing it. But I mean, if I really love the band and they're currently putting stuff out, then especially if I like what I'm hearing, more than like 2 or 3 songs, I'm gonna buy the CD. I mean, because I love it. I go way back with this. I had vinyl when I was a kid. I love the big gatefold sleeves. You open it up, and it was just something to hold on to while you listen to something that was really good. And I love that whole experience. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, with a great album cover and all that. It's just a different experience for me. I sound old as hell. I'm sorry, though. And
Yeah, you're
CDs, I
fine.
love CDs.
I mean, I still
I love.
collect music that way myself. I got a Badfinger CD in my collection. Well,
I
not
remember
CD,
that.
record, I
Yeah,
should say. Straight Up is the name of the album.
great music. Great music.
Yeah, they were kind of like a Beatles-esque, I guess you could
I
say.
thought they were. Yeah, but they were good though. You know what I mean? Like that song that got so popular. Do you want it? Here it is. Come and get it. That sounds very Beatles to me, but they were still really good. I mean, just because they sound a little like somebody, it's all right. They were a really good band.
Yeah, a couple of
There's
songs
not a
that
lot of
come to
great
my
bands
mind.
like that today. I'm sorry.
Couple of the songs that come into my mind with Badfinger would be Day After Day, which was in a few movies before, and also the song No Matter What.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were good.
I
They
can
were all
do
good.
that all
They were
day.
just a really really good band. But I don't think they had a limited time span as far as them putting out records. Didn't they? They weren't around that long.
No, I
They
think they made maybe 2 or 3 albums, and then that was it.
It was kind of like Free with Paul Rogers. They didn't really. There was a few albums, but they didn't really last. Of course, Paul went to a bad company. But yeah, they weren't around that long. They were a really good band, but they didn't last that long. All Right Now, they had that, and I don't think they had any other hits besides that. Even though the albums themselves were very good, really good.
Absolutely.
They were a huge influence on one of my favorite guitarists, Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple and Rainbow. He actually tried to get Paul Rogers into Deep Purple, and I guess Rogers had some kind of mafia connection or something with his label or something. It was a really shady thing that he was a part of, so we couldn't do it. And for me, I think Paul Rogers is a great vocalist, but I can't imagine him singing, Highway Star or Child in Time, the high, super high pitch. I don't think he would have been able to handle those songs like Ian Gillan did. It would have been a bad match, I think.
That's kind
Great
of like
singer though.
that's kind of like asking Glenn Benton from Deicide to sing a song by Bruno Mars.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. I
I
remember
don't think it
Bruno.
would
Is he
sound right.
still around? But Bruno
Glenn?
Mars is still putting out music, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was good.
Bruno's the man, dude.
Yeah, he was good. I like him. You,
He's
you're mentioning a
extremely
couple of things that
talented.
when I stop talking to you, I'm probably going to go check them out again. That's good.
Cool. I got less than a minute here with you, Andy. What would you like to say to your fans out there?
I'd like to say I hope I see you all out there. I hope you like the album. And hey, metal horns way up, right? Be seeing you out there.
That's right,
Bye bye.
brother. Hey, got any last words for Underground Noise Webzine? That's my final question.
I'm very flattered to be here. I'm very honored to have done this interview, Al. You're a really very likable interviewer, which is really nice. You came prepared, and it's very nice. I've done some bad interviews way back in the past with people who weren't prepared or anything like that. This is totally different. It was very amiable and very enjoyable. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for giving me a portion of your time today, Andy.
Absolutely. Anytime, Al.
And keep your horns up.
I will.